The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Banking for better. Sign up today. Edge.ever. Go to SGPN. When you sign up, you get a free Rest of Terrorist t-shirt. Claim your shirt at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/refs. We're also brought to you by NYA Bets. Get a $25 free bet by going to bet on the Belmont. A reminder that free bet's only for the Belmont. Go to NYABets.com/SGPN25. Promo code SGPN25. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Cam Podcast here on the Sports Cam Podcast Network. It's currently Saturday afternoon, June 7th, around 12:50 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to break down the men's final in the French Open between Alcaraz and Sinner, taking place on Sunday. Going to get into that in a second. Do want to recap the men's semis and the women's final that actually happened on Saturday morning. For that, though, a brief reminder that you can help support the show by liking, subscribing on YouTube, and a reminder you can also leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. So you can help the podcast grow either on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple by leaving a rating and a review and by subscribing to the channel. Plus, a reminder to check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great Tennis Cam Podcast merch with sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. High quality, very affordable. Recommend getting yourself something there. Plus, a reminder that we also have an app for all of the SGPN podcasts to be found in one easy location. Check out all the free picks and podcasts for the Stanley Cup, College Baseball World Series, NBA Finals on the SGPN app. Get it wherever you do. Get your apps completely free as a reminder. Plus, one other announcement. We did end up reaching a milestone on YouTube. We got to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you if you have been around since the beginning. If you are new to the show, we've been around for multiple years on YouTube. We've been around for even longer on Spotify or Apple. I think we started the YouTube channel about 2 years ago, give or take. So we've come a long way, but thank you for helping us get to 1,000 subscribers. Appreciate it. Hopefully we end up growing that number moving forward. But definitely a nice milestone. Feels pretty good, and we'll try to keep it rolling here moving forward. But thank you again if you are one of the people that have subscribed to the channel. Couldn't have grown without you. And if you are new to the show, hopefully you help add to that number. Anyway, starting off with the recap of the match that happened on Saturday morning, or whatever the hell that was. You had Sabalenka against Goff. Now, for the actual lock and dog, decent episode, not great. Did lose the lock with Sabalenka -2.5 games, -139. Got off to a pretty decent start as she won the first set. Then completely unraveled and fell apart as she lost in 3. But she did just enough to get the job done for the dog, as we had Sabalenka team total over 12.5 games at +102. Not easy when your player cannot serve to save her life, but either way, Sabalenka found a way to get there, courtesy of breaking multiple times, and she ended up getting to 13 en route to the loss. But the loss for the match was actually good for us long-term, because we had Goff to win the event at +500. So definitely a nice outright win there. We automatically win the outrights for both the men's and the women's French Open, because we do have Alcaraz and Sinner on the men's side for the final. So once again, we ended up cashing a nice outright at 5-1 on Goff. Not easy. You know what? It never is in women's tennis, but a nice win for us there at 5-1. To get into the actual breakdown of the match, though, the key stat that I'll mention, the key number, is the number 70. The number of unforced errors Sabalenka had in a Grand Slam final. The match itself was competitive. However, a reminder that competitive tennis does not always equal good tennis. It was really, really bad. The match was disgusting. Both players couldn't really keep the ball in play. Felt like every single rally took about 5 or 6 shots because somebody was going to punt the ball out of play. So it was a very ugly match from start to finish. The first set was extremely chaotic because Sabalenka was down a break multiple times in the first set and then came back to get the job done. Ended up seeing Sabalenka, actually it was up 4-1 in the first set, then got broken twice, so it was 4-4, was up 5-4, then had a couple of set points on serve, got broken, Sabalenka broke back, then got broken again. So if you're doing the math at home, that does mean that, doing the math quickly here, that means that out of all of the potential 12 service games in the first set, you had a grand total of 8 breaks of serve. It was disgusting. But either way, Sabalenka had a 2-break lead, actually, in the first set, then gave it back, then took another lead, blew it, and then ended up finding a way to win the breaker. And that was definitely a sign of things to come. Goff came back, though, but damn, that match was horrible. I got nothing else to add. 70 double faults. 70 unforced errors for the number one player in the world. It was just disgusting. I got nothing else to add there. For double faulting, you saw 14 combined. Goff, though, went under. She had 8. Her line was at 8.5. So good for Goff going under the double fault total. Sabalenka, though, only won 48% of her first serve points. 48%. And she won 47% of her second serve points. It was disgusting. You ended up having 34 combined breakpoint chances. It was probably the worst quality final I've ever seen in a Grand Slam. But you know what? It worked out to our benefit as we had Goff to win the title at 5-1, which feels pretty good. But either way, it was definitely an ugly match. I guarantee you the match tomorrow will be of much higher quality. But you know what? It was full of drama. If you like women's tennis, you're definitely going to be into drama. You got it, even though the actual quality of play was not really up to par. But you know what? Goff got it done. Sabalenka, though, keeps handing out Grand Slam titles to Americans. Ended up losing the Australian Open in the final to Keys. Did lose the French Open final to Goff. It's been a pretty rough start for Sabalenka, at least based on their expectations. Yes, she has been good in terms of wins and losses. The problem is Sabalenka throughout her entire career has been I'll use the term closet choker, because she chokes a lot, and people don't realize how often she actually chokes in big matches. And the fact that she was able to win a couple of Grand Slams, including the US Open last year, where she did end up surviving, was a very tough match. People don't really notice how often she chokes in Grand Slam finals, and I feel like it's something that's worth talking about, because it's happened numerous times in her career already, and I feel like it's kind of been swept under the rug, because she has won a couple of titles before. It's worth bringing up. I'll put it that way. Sabalenka has proven time and time again, when the pressure is on, she will unravel on multiple occasions. And Goff, you know what, did not play that well. Didn't matter, because you ended up seeing Sabalenka give away 73 points with unforced errors. But Goff kept the ball in play. She was able to change her strategy a bit, going for less, basically daring Sabalenka to go for broke and let Sabalenka self-destruct. And she did. As for Sabalenka, look, I understand that you want to play with a lot of firepower and you want to try to overpower everyone on the court. When you were at unforced error 50 and the second set's not even over yet, you might want to change strategies. Just saying, sometimes less is more. You don't want to completely punt away every point by going for broke on every shot. You might want to take some off of it and just try to rally a little bit, at least to get your timing down. But Sabalenka said, you know what, I'm only playing my way, and if I lose, I lose. It's my way or the highway. And for her sake, I hope she has gas in the car, because she took the highway, and she ended up losing in 3 sets. So, look, it was a pretty rough loss for Sabalenka, who, after winning the first set, after trying to choke it away on multiple occasions, unraveled. She got buried in the second set, fell behind early in the third set as well. It was just rough. It was a really, really bad tennis match. But either way, it worked out for us. We cashed the dog somehow, despite Sabalenka losing the match. Did lose the lock, but we did win Goff to win the French Open at 5-1, which is pretty nice. Check out the comment section, though. Quickly, I see Uneducated stopping by. Definitely a nice win by Coco, but definitely an implosion by Sabs as well. I see Manzi stopping by. Definitely seems like Coco, I don't know if has the number is accurate, because it is still like 6'5" in the head-to-head, but Coco's been more successful in the head-to-head than people expect. Main reasons because of the unforced error issues that Sabs has against her. Joe's mentioning the over and double faults was epic. Definitely true, but not for Goff. Goff went under the 8.5 double faults, so shout out to her there. Looking at the other people, I see Ginger stopping by. I see Anthony stopping by as well. And yeah, there you go. So point is, definitely a pretty weird final that we saw on the women's side, but a profitable one. And now we'll keep rolling to get into the final episode of the French Open for the men's final taking place on Sunday. Must-watch TV between Alcaraz and Sinner. Now, before we get into the actual breakdown of the final, I want to recap the men's semifinal matches that happened about a day ago. So, getting into the men's semis. Now, for the overall breakdown, two pretty anticlimactic matches. Now, we did call the Sinner match completely right. We thought that Sinner would win in straight sets. We thought that Joker to be competitive was definitely a possibility, but we did pick Sinner based on value, who was getting plus money to win in straight sets. We thought that was a bargain, and it was, as Sinner did win in straight sets. Now, you saw Alcaraz end up having a bit of a war early on. As Musetti won the first set, Alcaraz kind of mentally checked out in the 4-5 game, very sloppy game, gave up the break in the set. Then Alcaraz was serving for the second set at 6-5, blew it, but then dominated the breaker. Alcaraz, we know, is a very good tiebreak player, and he was able to coast to a 7-3 win in the breaker. And Musetti never won a game. In fact, what makes the tiebreak loss, once again, you might have gotten a push, depending on what book you actually use. Some books gave you a loss for that tiebreak prop. Musetti, though, breaking back to force the breaker in the second set, that was the final game Musetti won in the entire match. So Musetti, once again, got the break back in the 5-6 return game, lost the tiebreak, and then lost 8-0 and quit. He hurt his leg in the either late second set, early third, got bageled, and then ended up losing 2-0 and then quit. So that even makes the tiebreak loss a bit harder if you actually factor it in. That was the last game Musetti won in the entire match, was to sabotage the tiebreak prop. But either way, it looked like we were going to have a pretty competitive matchup. Thought Alcaraz would still win in 4 sets. But Musetti, we've seen it before in this matchup, actually, in Monte Carlo. The same exact scenario. Musetti won the first set, and then he got injured, and he fell apart. Musetti, I will put in the Draper category of durability. They've improved on it, but there have been a lot of injury issues over the years. And Musetti, the reason why I don't really view him seriously when it comes to winning Grand Slam titles, I don't trust his fitness to survive these 5-set marathons. And we've seen his body completely unravel in massive matches before. He had the French Open match a couple years ago against Djokovic. He was up like 2-0. Then he lost like 2 straight 6-0 sets and a 6-1 in there. We've seen Musetti's body deteriorate in these very long marathons, and I do think that's going to be a problem for Musetti when it comes to picking him to win Grand Slams. It's why I didn't pick him to win the French Open. I picked him to win the quarter, and he did. But going beyond that, not to mention the fact that Alcaraz and Sinner are too good right now, Musetti just does not have the durability for me to trust him to win Grand Slams. Same with Draper. I know Draper lost to Bublik in kind of a weird draw over there, but we've seen Draper drop out in Grand Slams before. I kind of grouped them together. Musetti's made it further than Draper has in Grand Slams for the most part. I know Draper did make it to the U.S. Open semi, and then Sinner beat him. The point is, though, Musetti is a very solid player. I think he's more of I'd say a 2 out of 3 set player for me when it comes to winning titles. I don't think he'll ever win a Grand Slam personally, unless he makes some drastic adjustments to the fitness element of his game. But Musetti's a very solid clay player. I know he made a deep run at Wimbledon as well last year. I just don't think his body can hold up for that many potential 3 to 5 set matches. And it's why I will pick Musetti to win quarters, not Grand Slams, and why I had no real interest in taking Musetti to win this title. Anyway, point is, Alcaraz did win via retirement, which kind of sucked, but either way, point is Alcaraz did end up getting the job done, despite dropping a set in the matchup, which has been kind of a common theme for Alcaraz in the event. Then you had the Sinner-Djokovic match, which was an absolute war, despite not going past 3 sets. Took 3 hours and 16 minutes. It was extremely competitive. In fact, each set was decided by 2 or fewer games. So I do think that it was, once again, a very entertaining matchup. So I think at the end of the day, it was, once again, a matchup that could have potentially gone 4. I wouldn't say it would have gone 5. I think Sinner was too solid to actually drop 2 sets to Joker. The big reason, though, why I like Sinner to beat Joker in straight sets. First of all, I did question the fitness of Joker after the 5-set marathon against, or the 4-set marathon against Zverev, and he actually answered the call pretty well. I thought Joker played very well. In fact, I think Joker would have beaten, I would say, about 99% of the tour if he played that well against anybody else except Sinner. And Sinner was the only guy, I think, on the entire tour, including Alcaraz, who would have beaten Joker yesterday in straight sets. Joker played very well. I'm going to give him props there. He's 38 years old. He left it all on the table, but Sinner had an answer every single time, and Joker just could not win enough big points returning-wise against Sinner. Sinner has been holding extremely frequently throughout the, or I should say, he's been holding a lot throughout the entire event. Joker only broke him one time, and it kind of sums up how good Sinner's been playing. Sinner, just at the end of the day, was too good on big points. A lot of the long rallies, which Joker normally wins, felt pretty even. Maybe even Sinner had an edge in a couple of those spots, but Joker played well. No shame there. Ended up losing 6-4, 7-5, 7-6. Joker needed the second set in order to have a chance, and the issue was Sinner was serving for the second set, got broken, and you think, okay, Joker might have taken momentum. Maybe he'll find a way to steal it. Not quite. Sinner got the break right back and eventually held after a deuce in the 6-5 game to win the second set. Joker tried his best. I got nothing else to add. He left it all out there, but Sinner's too good, and Sinner beat him in straight sets. Kind of the issue you run into when it comes to betting against Sinner. You have to deal with the consistency and the firepower and the overall elite game. And Sinner is just an absolute monster. So Joker, tip of the cap, he tried his best, but Sinner did win in straight sets. So that was definitely a good call by us. Did end up winning the dog parlay for that semifinal episode, kinda, because the Alcaraz one got reduced as he was going to win in 4, but Musetti quit. But you ended up seeing Sinner -1 net sets cash. So we did call Sinner to kind of dominate that one. It was close, but no cigar for Joker. And we'll see how it looks in the final between Sinner and Alcaraz. Nothing else really add there. A reminder, though, for the outrights for the French Open, we do have Alcaraz and Sinner, so he automatically win. But if you want to mention the pricing there, you can find Alcaraz at +120 from the outright episode and Sinner at +225. So we're going to let it ride. We're going to see what happens. If Sinner wins, we make a little bit more profit, but not going to complain either way. We'll see what happens. Should be a fun final nonetheless. Nothing else really add there. It has been a very chalky tournament on the men's and the women's side, as we saw the 1 versus the 2 in both the men's and the women's. So we'll see if the 2 can beat the 1 that happened in the women's side. Maybe Alcaraz can beat Sinner again in the French Open for the second straight year. And we'll see if Alcaraz can win another French Open title or if Sinner gets over the hump and wins his first ever French Open title. Anyway, nothing else to really add for the semifinal recap. I thought that, once again, it was a pretty entertaining pair of matches that ended a lot quicker than we were kind of hoping for. But either way, time to move on into the final between Alcaraz and Sinner. Before we get into the actual breakdown of the final taking place on Sunday, a reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is EdgeBoost, the first ever bank for bettors, ensuring that all your gambling transactions are approved. No user fees and no minimums. Test records as well. On send approval. For deposit time today, EdgeBoost.peppercode SGPN. When you sign up for your new account, you will get a free Rest of Terrorist t-shirt. Go to sportscampbox.com/refs to claim your free shirt. We're also brought to you by Arctic Fantasy because Underdog is going along for the May Finals with their extender bonus. Hop in game 1, and the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. And a reminder, when you sign up for your new account, use the promo code SGPN. Get a special pick and a first-time visit offer up to $1K in bonus cash on fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by NYA Bets, because you can bet the Belmont Stakes Saratoga, and then NYA Bets. Sign up today with promo code SGPN25. Get a $25 free bet plus $200 deposit match bonus. Whether you're a season bettor or just getting started, NYA Bets does make it easy. Jump in on the action. The offer, though, is only for the Belmont, so jump in before it goes away. Join now. Claim your $25 free Belmont bet today at NYABets.com/SGPN25. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finish recapping what happened in the semis for the men's and recapping the final between Sabalenka and Goff. Time to move on into the main event here, the final between Alcaraz and Sinner. Now, for this one, it is basically split on the books. Some books have Alcaraz a slight favorite, about -115. Most books have -110 apiece. For the spread, minus half a game for Alcaraz, plus half a game for Sinner. The over-under is at around 40.5. Shop around that. You can find different numbers if you do shop around hard enough. For the over-under in sets, the over 3.5 sets is minus 260. You're looking at the over 4.5 sets at plus 181. Sinner, minus 1.5 sets is plus 171. Alcaraz, minus 1.5 sets is plus 174. For the actual player props, you can find the over-under for the team total for both guys at 20.5. Same price for both guys. For the actual aces total, 10.5 combined. A little bit of juice there to the under at minus 125. For the breaks of serve combined, 8.5. Same amount of juice on both sides. Double faults over under 4.5 combined. Tie breaks, the over half a breaker is about minus 160, and the under is at plus 124. And if you want to go for the length of the match, which did cash the over on for the Sabalenka match, it's at 212.5 minutes. So you need the match to go basically 3.5 hours to have a chance to actually win it. A little bit more than that, but the point is you're going to have to expect a marathon for the over in minutes to get there for the matchup. Now for that, Ted, we've seen Alcaraz become the only guy that can beat Sinner on the entire tour at this point, because Sinner's beaten everybody besides Alcaraz over the last couple of months. Point is, though, Alcaraz, though, did have his number in Rome a couple weeks ago, as Alcaraz won 7-6, 6-1. Sinner did have a couple of set points there in the first set, but then ended up not converting, as Sinner had 2 set points in the 6-5 return game for him, and he did not convert. Then Alcaraz won, and at that point, it was over as Sinner ran out of gas. So we'll see if Sinner's able to showcase better stamina the second time around. That was his first event back post-suspension. So we'll see if Sinner is going to be looking sharp, I'd say more sharp physically, over the course of what should be a very competitive matchup. You're looking at Sinner, though, beating Alcaraz in the Saudi exhibition, in the Six Kings Slam. But if you ignore that and only focus on ATP matches, Alcaraz has actually won 4 straight matchups against Sinner. Now, the Rome one is unique because the previous 3 that Alcaraz won, each did not end in straight sets. So the common theme here is that Alcaraz wins, but it's never close. It's always close. It's usually never a blowout. And even the last matchup, which Alcaraz won, the first set was very close, and Sinner found a way to fumble the 2 break points, the 2 set points, and then eventually lose the set. And at that point, he ran out of gas. But you tend to see marathons. Alcaraz usually wins these marathons, but it tends to go distance, and you tend to see a lot of very high-quality tennis, which we're expecting to see in the final once again here on Sunday. Now, for the history, they faced off 13 times. Alcaraz has been quite good in the head-to-head. In addition to winning 4 in a row on the ATP level, if you want to include the Six Kings Slam. So 4-1 for Alcaraz there. 4-3, 5-3, 6-3, 6-4, 6-5, 7-5, 8-5. So I see 8-5 in favor of Alcaraz here for the head-to-head. Point is, though, you have seen a pretty interesting rivalry between them, where Sinner has kind of found himself on a new level, where it seems like he is becoming, I don't want to say unbeatable, because Alcaraz keeps finding a way, but it does feel like he is just reaching a certain new ceiling that is approaching all-time level ceiling stuff, where Sinner does not get upset by anybody. And you're looking at Alcaraz, who's been winning. The problem is he drops sets. He does drop matches occasionally because he can be very volatile with the unforced errors and the shot selection. Sinner, though, is the model of consistency. He's got the firepower, he has the movement, and most importantly, he also has the precision to create what looks like a robotic tennis player at times. But he's a monster. Alcaraz, though, with the variety, the firepower, and the creativity, has been able to find openings in the Sinner game that other people can't find. But the point is, with the head-to-head advantage and with the advantage that he had in the French Open last year, as Alcaraz won in 5 sets, you'd argue that Alcaraz should be a favorite, a bigger favorite in this matchup. Having said that, Sinner in the event has not actually dropped a set yet. He's been rolling. Had 3 competitive sets against Joker, but he's won every other set pretty comfortably. Had a 7-5 against Bublik, and a 7-5 against Rinderknech, but once again, not dropping a set, entering the final is very impressive in a Grand Slam. For Alcaraz, though, he's been the opposite. He has dropped at least 1 set in 4 of the last 5 matches. He had his best match of the event against Paul in the quarterfinals, then went back to punting away points against Musetti, did enough to win, and then the injury kicked in to once again help him out with that. But I do think for the value itself, Alcaraz, you'd argue, should be the bet because of the head-to-head history and the advantage on clay that he has because he just beat him on clay about 2 weeks ago. Having said that, I think my main option for the match itself will be the expected length of the match. I like the over. I think the minus 110 apiece honestly sounds fair. You have arguments for both guys in this matchup. I think you're looking at a complete coin flip for me. I would say that Sinner, if I had to price it myself, would probably be a slight favorite just because I think his consistency and his form in the tournament has been better than Alcaraz's. However, I know that if Alcaraz was getting plus money, you'd probably blindly bet Alcaraz because he's beaten him in the French Open before, and he's the defending French Open champion. He also won Monte Carlo. He's the best clay player in the world. So you're kind of in a tough spot when it comes down to how this is priced, and that's why I'm looking at the total instead. I think no matter who wins the match, it goes 4 or 5. I see a breaker in there. There's a long tiebreak history with these two guys. I like the over in this matchup. I think for the actual side itself, it's really tough. The one point I will make, though, if you want to go for extra value, it's of course going to be recycling my favorite prop on the Grand Slam portion of the, once again, calendar. It will be player X to win with both players to win a set. I don't see either guy winning in straight sets. I think it'll be a 4 or a 5 set marathon. I think it lives up to the hype, and I think it'll be a great matchup. However, I said a second ago, it is minus 110 apiece for the money line. For Sinner to win the match and both players to win a set, it's plus 182. For Alcaraz to win and both players to win a set, it is also plus 182. I don't see Alcaraz winning in straight sets. I think Sinner will win at least one set. You can argue Sinner maybe can find a way in straight sets if Alcaraz completely implodes and just punts away points. I don't see that happening. I think it goes 4 or 5. So instead of taking the money line, go to FanDuel, take the prop, player X to win the match with both players to win a set, and you're saving 90 plus cents. It's the better way to go about it. You'll get better value for it. And I do think that's the option if you're going to feel strongly about picking a specific player to win the matchup. Do I feel strongly about either player to win? No. I see a path for either guy. I think Sinner, based on current form, is right now the better player, but Alcaraz has owned him, historically speaking, and he's been good on clay, beat him in Rome in Sinner's backyard in Italy about 2 weeks ago, and that last set was not very close. Will Sinner physically hold up in the 4th and 5th set against Alcaraz? He blew a 2-1 lead last year because Alcaraz wore him down, felt like Sinner had too many errors, and it felt like his body kind of wore down over the course of the matchup. Plus, a reminder, Alcaraz is one of the best 5th set players of all time. So if you are going up against Alcaraz in a 5th set, historically, you are up against it because Alcaraz in his career is 12-1 in 5th sets. 12-1 is absolutely insane. So keep that in mind. Alcaraz historically is arguably the best 5th set player of all time, which might come back to bite Sinner bettors if it goes that far into it. However, for the sake of the matchup, I prefer the over and everything. I think I am going to go with Alcaraz. I'm not going to bet that. I feel like there are better bets to be made for the matchup. But based on what I said in the semifinal episode, I said for a hypothetical matchup, if it was going to be Sinner against Alcaraz, I would pick Alcaraz. I wouldn't be happy about it, but I do think Alcaraz, with the head-to-head advantage and with the fact that Sinner just lost Alcaraz on clay in straight sets, you could argue it might be a good revenge spot. I don't believe in that. It's a Grand Slam final. You don't need extra bulletin board material. Either you bring it or you don't, and both guys are very competitive. So I don't believe in the revenge angle. I think that it'll be a very tough matchup. I think it will go 5. I actually have a marathon kind of on the schedule here for me. I see Van disagreeing. He has Alcaraz in 3. I don't agree. Alcaraz, if he plays as well as he did against Paul, I can see him winning in 4. I can agree with you on that. However, Alcaraz's unforced error issue has been present in a bunch of matches in the event. You could argue that he might raise his level against Sinner, as he normally does. But if he ends up having one set full of mistakes, Sinner's jumping on him. And Sinner might win a set comfortably, like 6-2, if Alcaraz plays as badly as he did against, I'd say, Musetti in that first set, where he just kept spraying shots all over the court. Sinner has a ton of firepower. He has a ton of consistency. It's going to be a battle of Alcaraz's firepower and creativity versus Sinner's consistency and his overall precision. For me, I think Alcaraz I will pick to win in 5. I will back the fifth set record, a 12-1 fifth set record. And I think Sinner physically has still not played many matches over the course of the last couple months. I know that he's been coasting anyway in the event, and he beat Joker in an absolute marathon. I get it. Joker had a couple of set points, though, in the third set. He could have lost that set. He fought it off with a couple of clutch points. But I think Alcaraz will have opportunities. I think Sinner physically might wear down if this match ends up reaching the 4-hour mark. I trust Alcaraz's stamina and durability a bit more than Sinner's. And in a matchup that does feature, in my opinion, the slimmest of margins, I think durability matters, and I do think that stamina matters. So give me Alcaraz, kind of like what we saw in last year's matchup in the semis. I'll go with Alcaraz in 5. Do I feel great about Alcaraz winning? No, but I am picking the over, in my opinion. I think it will be a very close matchup. I see Van disagreeing about it going 5 sets. Agree to disagree. The point is, Van, even if it doesn't go 5, I still like the over in games. I think there will be a breaker. I think most, if not all, sets will be close, either 6-3s or 6-4. One breaker and you're in great shape to cash an over. So even if it doesn't go 5 and you get a competitive 4 sets, I still like the over in the matchup. So I'm fine with it either way. But the point is, I do think it will be a close matchup either way. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. So based on that, give me the over for the actual games. And I am going to go with Alcaraz in 5 as my pick for the matchup. Anyway, time to move on into the lock and dog picks for the show. Before we get into the lock and dog, though, reminder they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is, as always, we have our sponsor, Circa, because they are hosting still the Ultimate Physical Experience, because they are giving away the Ultimate Physical Experience for a 12-person league draft in Vegas and be sure to get VIPs for their stay. We get a limo ride from the airport, a 5K tab for Stadium Swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. You could also get 15% off everything at the Circa properties with promo code SGP15. Enter the contest, though, for free. So once again, free contest for a chance to win this massive Vegas giveaway at sportscam.com/Circa, sportscam.com/CIRCA. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, because they've been sponsoring us for a while. They just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. Add detected patterns where Rhythm's models have consistently won and have a high ROI. You also have to remember that they upload and update these trends every day. They're exclusive to Rhythm. No touts, no noise, no dub club, just clean data-backed bets. Download the Rhythm app, check out Power Trends, start betting smarter, and a reminder you can also try to refer for a week by getting the free trial. Go to sportscam.com/rhythm for a 7-day free trial. We're also brought to you by MyBookie.ag, because they are the place for every sport. They have the NBA Finals, they have the NHL Finals. What a wild series there between Edmonton and Florida. It's been as good as advertised. You might get 7 games out of it, but you can bet on it at MyBookie.ag. Check out the French Open betting lines there as well. You have UFC, you have MLB, you name it. But a reminder, you'd also use it for a ton of locations. Use crypto for all of your payouts. Use it positive sign up for your account. Use the promo code SGPN to get a one this match up to 1K. Terms and conditions MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the preview of the men's final. Now it's time to move on into the lock and dog picks. For the lock in this matchup, I am going to go with kind of a double down for both plays. I am going to go with the over at 39.5. I just think it's going to be a marathon. I saw minus 115. Couple reasons why I'm taking this. First reason, I'm expecting a marathon. Second reason, DraftKings went rogue. Every other book has 40.5 or 41.5. 39.5 is like minus 140 at most spots. DraftKings is minus 115. So if you want to save me an extra game while giving me less juice, sure, I'll take that. I like the value on it. But every other book is a higher total, so I'll capitalize on the extra game, which might not seem like a lot, but it is. I do think that if you're looking at what could be potentially 4 6-4 sets, that's a win in 39.5 land it's a loss in 40.5 land. So I do like, once again, the extra game there with really no additional juice for the total. You're looking at the over 3.5 sets, though, being set at minus 260. It's expected to go at least 4. I agree with that. I think you'll get a breaker in there, too. You have seen a bunch of competitive matchups in the head-to-head, and I do think that having a pretty reasonable number at 39.5 makes sense for the over. You've seen 9 of the 13 career meetings not end in straight sets. For the last 5 meetings, did not end in straight sets. They faced off in the French Open last year. That matchup went 5, went over the number as well. I see a close matchup. Whether you like Sinner winning or Alcaraz winning, I think we all agree that it probably turns into a very competitive match. And I do think if it goes 4 with these two guys, it should go over this number. You might get 5 as an insurance policy, because if it goes 5, of course, automatically going over. But I do think you're looking at what could be a couple of scripts, no matter who wins, of the match going over. So give me the over, the games here, at 39.5 as my lock at minus 115 on DraftKings. For the dog, though, really tricky to come up with a play, because Alcaraz has been very good in the first set of recent matches against Sinner, but I've seen Alcaraz start off slowly with unforced errors, and Sinner's not dropped a set yet. So I can't see Sinner starting off hot in this matchup as well. So I stayed away from that. I thought about the team total market. The problem was, I think either guy could win the matchup. So I had to pick one guy to get the job done, basically, for the team total. And I actually went with a surprising choice. I chose Sinner with the team total over 20.5 at even money. Main reason, I think Alcaraz, even if he does end up winning the matchup, he could have a lopsided set in there. If unforced errors are a serious issue, I can see Sinner winning a set like 6-2. And if that happens, Alcaraz might be potentially in trouble of going over the number if he wins in 4. I think he'd go over anyway. But Sinner has been so consistent. Alcaraz does tend to punt some sets. And Sinner, I'll mention, even when he loses to Alcaraz in Grand Slams, he's gone over the team total in all 3 meetings in Grand Slams. He won 22 games last year in the 5-set loss. Sinner can get there despite losing in a marathon. There's also been a ton of tiebreakers in the head-to-head. There's been at least one tiebreak in 10 of the last 12 meetings, but Sinner has not been good in those breakers. Alcaraz is actually 8-4 in those tie breaks. But based on the consistent theme of getting 4+ sets in Grand Slams, you're with them, you're looking at the over 3.5 sets of minus 260. You're looking at the breakers being pretty common, having at least one breaker in 10 of the last 12 meetings. And Sinner going over this number in all 3 Grand Slam meetings, whether he wins or loses. I do think there is a path for Sinner to get there, whether he wins or loses. I do think, though, the reason why I took Sinner over Alcaraz is the consistency. I think Sinner will have less dips in form than Alcaraz might. And I do think Sinner, if he loses a breaker and then he wins a set, you're kind of coasting at that point. But I do think you're looking at what should be a very fun matchup. If you want to do a same-game parlay with the team total overs for Alcaraz and Sinner, that's a 20.5, both of them on Caesars. You can get that at like plus 190, give or take, which I thought about, but I'll leave the door open for what could be a 4-set ending, where one guy maybe doesn't get there. But Sinner's consistency, I think, won me over, and I do think he should find a way to get to this team total at even money, whether he wins or loses the matchup. It's also like minus 112, minus 115 in some spots, but Caesars did have even money, so I'll take the price differential, and I'll take that as my dog for the show. So once again, the plays for the men's final in the French Open. The lock's going to be on Alcaraz and Sinner. The total, I'll go with the over 39.5 games here at minus 115. For the dog, I'm going to go with the Sinner team total over 20.5 at even money. I understand if you are a little bit scared of the dog because you pick Alcaraz to win. It is what it is, but I do think that Sinner, with his consistency and Alcaraz's dips in form, I think he wins, in my opinion, 2 sets minimum. I think it will be that close, unless Sinner's body betrays him. But I think Sinner's been returning very well. He's been serving very well. I think he will find a way over this number. And I think that Sinner is definitely capable of winning this matchup. I'm not going in telling you that Alcaraz is guaranteed to win. I think it will be close either way. But for me, I'm going with the over in this one. It's a bit bold, but I do think it'll be a solid and fun matchup. Must-watch TV, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, let's go wrap it up for the actual show. We're back once again for the next episode, which is previewing the grass season for the ATP Tour, because we are done with clay. after this. We have the matchups taking place for the first round in Stuttgart and Den Bosch. It's going to break down the outrights and hopefully quarter odds for both events. So we are in the grass season after the match on Sunday. Get excited, so keep that in mind. Until next time, I'm on Twitter Race Radio. And once again, thank you to everyone who subscribed to helping us get to 1,000 on YouTube. Appreciate it. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all.